Thank you, everyone, for joining the State Allocation Board. Our apologies, we're starting at 4:13 because we had some technical difficulties. But we're really thrilled everyone is here, and sorry again for being late. If Ms. Jones, you could establish a quorum for us, please.
Yes, I can. Senator Wilk.
Present.
Senator Leyva.
Here.
Senator Laird.
Here.
Assemblymember O'Donnell.
Here.
Assemblymember Mays.
Here.
Assemblymember Bonta.
Here.
Juan Morales.
Here.
Jeremy Smith.
Here.
Ana Lasso.
Here.
Gail Miller.
Here, we have a quorum. So pursuant to SB 189 from this year, we are conducting this meeting by Zoom. It's also being broadcast in room 4221 at 707 3rd Street in West Sac if you'd like to provide public comment in person. In order for this meeting to run efficiently on Zoom, as we all learn, we still make mistakes. You're going to be muted during the meeting. If you want to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature, which is sometimes under the reactions button, and we'll unmute you when it's your turn to speak. If you're calling into the meeting but not using the Zoom app or not attending in person, unfortunately, you will not be able to provide public comment. And number two, the board is meeting today in closed session, and for board members, we are bumping that link back up at the conclusion of our open session pursuant to Government Code Section 11126E for the purpose of conferring with and receiving advice from legal counsel on pending litigation. So with that, we will move to the minutes, please, from August 15th, 2022. Ms. Silverman?
Yeah, the minutes are ready for your approval.
Great. Any public comment on the minutes? Seeing none, I will move approval. May we have a second, please?
Second. Great.
Thanks, Senator Leyva. Unfortunately, we do have to call the roll because we're on Zoom. So Ms. Silverman, if you don't mind. Is that right? Am I right about that? Every board is different. Yeah?
Yes.
Ms. Jones, sorry, not Ms.
Yes.
Silverman.
That's okay. Senator Wilk.
Aye.
Senator Leyva.
Aye.
Senator Laird.
Aye.
Assemblymember O'Donnell.
Aye.
Assemblymember Mays.
Aye.
Assemblymember Bonta.
Aye.
Juan Morales.
Aye.
Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Ana Lasso.
Aye.
Gail Miller.
All right, the minutes are adopted. We'll now move to the executive officer statement, please, Ms. Silverman.
Yes, hi. We have a few updates we wanted to share with the board. And the first update we wanted to highlight is the 23rd party funding apportionment round that opened. And basically, we request certifications from districts if you have an unfunded approval. And that round closed June 9th. And we're happy to report that we did have a number of requests that came through. Over 193 requests came through for over $620 million. And those certifications are valid from July 1st through December 31st of 2022. And so whenever we have, and we actually do have an opportunity to present as a result of the fall bond sale, some apportionments at the October board. So we're looking forward to activating those certifications and activating the cash as a result of the fall bond sale. So I look forward for some more great news to come in October. Lots of money coming out. So it's great news. We also wanted to highlight that we've been working at a very aggressive schedule to actually meet some timelines and commitments of bringing the California Preschool and Transitional Kindergarten full day kindergarten apportionments or grant approvals, sorry. We had received at the April filing round, we had received over 417 applications for over $1.5 billion. So lots of interest in the program, which is great news. And so we'll be looking forward to the board to take action on a small tranche today, but looking forward to a much bigger tranche in October. So look forward to that as well. The next item I want to give an update on is the stakeholder feedback related to the direct apportionments. It was a great opportunity last month. We had an August 2nd stakeholder meeting in which we actually received some input as a result of that meeting. So we initially had some plans to bring this item back to the board in August, but again, taking in consideration the feedback we received from our stakeholders, we're happy to share that we did incorporate some feedback as well into that proposed regulation package. And again, our goal is to introduce that later, and Barbara will cover that topic. And then as far as the joint agency workshop, this is our third joint agency workshop. And so we're happy to share that our workshop has been conducted with the Department of Education, the Division of State Architect. So this is our third workshop. We had over 340 attendees on September 9th. It's a free workshop. And then again, we actually partnered with the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, and also had a case study from Fairfield Suisun City. So again, it was a great opportunity to introduce on how to build sustainable facilities and outdoor spaces. So it was very widely attended and a lot of good interest in building, again, sustainable facilities and outdoor spaces. So we were happy and pleased with the outcome in that. And we're happy that we were able to have some panelists discussion, lots of good discussion there. So looking forward to some more opportunities to work with our partners. And our last update, we wanted to highlight our next board meeting is October 26th at 4 o'clock. So see you in Zoom.
Okay, thank you so much, and thanks for all the work. Any questions for Ms. Silverman? Seeing none, any public comment? Again, please use your Zoom hand if you'd like to make a comment on any item in the executive officer's report. I don't see anyone. Do you, Mr. Watanabe? Nope. Great. So now we will move on to our consent agenda, please, Ms. Silverman.
Consent agenda is ready for your approval.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, maybe
So
the motion.
moved.
Thank
Second.
you, Senator Wilk. Thank you, Senator Laird. Ms. Jones, will you take the roll, please?
I certainly will. Senator Wilk,
Aye.
Senator Leba,
Aye. Sorry.
that's okay. Senator Laird,
Aye.
Assemblymember O'Donnell, Assemblymember Mays,
Aye.
Assemblymember Bonta,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Jeremy Smith,
Aye.
Ana Lasso,
Aye.
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye. Mr. O'Donnell, I don't think we heard you. If you can unmute and vote on the consent calendar.
O'Donnell was an aye.
Great, thank you very much. The consent calendar is adopted. Next, we'll move to the financial reports, please.
Yes, on page 99, we wanted to give the board a highlight on the fund releases that we've been dispersing. And again, we wanted to highlight back in August, we actually had a fund release of $197.7 million. So that's great news. Money is going out the door for those much needed projects approvals. So that's a highlight we wanted to share there. And then as far as the status of funds, on page 102, the summary of the status of funds. So the board did take action on the consent agenda, and that included over 48 projects for close to $104 million. And we also have one rescission that is also noted for $1.1 million. And so since that project didn't move forward, those bond proceeds would go back to the fund of origination. And to that extent, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to take any questions.
Great, any questions? It's really good news. Any public comment on the financials? Anyone wishing to comment for any reason? Seeing none, this is not an action item, and we will now move to the appeal of the Central Union Elementary School District. And I'm noting before Ms. Silverman explains it that the district superintendent, Tom Addington, is unable to attend today, but he did send a letter to all of the members supporting staff's recommendation on this appeal. Ms. Silverman.
Yes, on page 119, we wanted to share this unique opportunity. And I know in some respects, I know we talk about appeals, and this one actually, the board has an opportunity to take some action there. And so Central Union Elementary School District is seeking financial hardship status for the Neutra Elementary School because the actual request, they don't actually meet the program requirements. So with that, again, we're actually seeking the board approval. They actually had a similar appeal, but it was simpler. And the district appeal was approved back in December of 2018, and it was for an Acres Elementary School project. And again, the board did approve that project, and they actually had requested an accelerated processing of their existing project because it was actually seeking financing from the federal government. So at this time, we're seeking the board to reinstate their project. Staff did review their project back in January of 2022 for that financial hardship request. We did determine that they were leveling the maximum developer fee under law, but it doesn't meet the requirements under the threshold that they didn't have 60% bonded indebtedness. In fact, they had 0% bonded indebtedness. The district hadn't passed a bond in 2 years. And they also had a debt capacity of 8.5 million, which is in excess of the current threshold of 5 million. So they have a unique opportunity. They have a Department of Defense Public Schools on Military Installation grant in front of them that would give them an opportunity to renovate their existing facility. The federal grant program actually provides 80% of the total cost. And the district is seeking state match assistance, in which they need to contribute over nearly 20% of the project cost. So the anticipated cost for that project is $40 million. And again, the federal government would commit to $32 million. So they're seeking the difference. And so since they're unable to pass a bond, we also wanted to recognize that over 85% of their student population occupies non-taxable areas, meaning they have students, most of their students are being educated at the military institution on base, or they're actually on tribal lands. So again, the 15% of their student population is being served. However, that's a very minimum amount being served in the general tax area. So since they have this limited capacity to pass a bond, we also wanted to highlight that they also have lots of local economic challenges in which their community, their median household income is $25,000. So again, it's really challenging for them to seek a bond from the constituents in their community. So right now, they're actually requesting for the board to reinstate their design grant because staff did return back their application or the request for design for financial hardship since it didn't meet the criteria. So at this time, they're actually seeking a separate design that would allow them to contribute with their state match by seeking this hardship request for design funds because they're actually currently going through the process of finalizing their grant requests through the federal government at this time. So time is of the essence in order for them to get this commitment, but they do definitely need staff's, they need the board's support in order to approve this design request. And they actually have a commitment from the State Allocation Board with respect to this grant request for designs. So the prior appeal, the board has taken action on similar appeals, Muroc Unified. And again, as I stated earlier, there was also a request that was granted back in 2018 by the board because they did have they presented other evidence and the board did approve that. So at this time, our recommendation is to not only reinstate their design grant, but also consider providing them financial hardship status for the full construction when they submit their full construction grant at the next phase. Because we definitely think that there is no change in their status at that point in time. So we think it's prudent for the board to actually grant that request as well. So at this time, we are recommending that the board approve the district's appeal for financial hardship status under other evidence for the application related to the Nutra Elementary School project and approve the reinstatement of the unfunded approval for that design grant. That's part of attachment D, and also approve the financial hardship status under other evidence for their future full grant for consideration.
Great.
So with that, I'll open to any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Silverman. And we can do this all in one motion, right, by supporting the appeal?
Mhm.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Silverman? We really appreciate the resolution and working so hard. So as I mentioned, Superintendent Addington is not on this call today, but anyone else wishing to comment for any reason?
I would move the appeal.
Thank you, Senator Leyva. Do we have a second?
Second.
Great, thank you, Ms. Bonta. Ms. Jones, will you take the roll, please?
I certainly will. Senator Wilk,
Aye.
Senator Leyva,
Aye.
Senator Laird,
Aye.
Assemblymember O'Donnell,
Aye.
Assemblymember Mays,
Aye.
Assemblymember Bonta,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Jeremy Smith,
Aye.
Ana Lasso,
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye, the appeal is granted. Next, we will move again to Ms. Silverman, to the California Preschool Transitional Kindergarten and Full Day Kindergarten grant applications.
Yeah, we're excited about moving this forward. So we wanted to present to the State Allocation Board the California Preschool grants, again, Transitional Kindergarten and Full Day Kindergarten grant applications. And I know it's a long term, and we're happy and excited to present that. So Attachment B is which staff is presenting 11 projects for over $33 million. And again, with the passage of AB 130 back in July of 2021, that provided $490 million to be appropriated for this particular program. The one caveat is with the passage of that, they actually expanded to include California Preschool and Transitional Kindergarten to the existing program. So that's great news. We can expand our reach to early learners. And then most recently, we also wanted to highlight that AB 181 that was chaptered on June 30th of 2022, that actually provided an additional $100 million for the existing filing round. So I know Barbara will touch on that next. And so again, to have $100 million also allocated to this existing filing round, we're hoping that board will take action on that. And then also introduce that there was $550 million also as part of that act, that budget act that was passed. So that would be bringing additional funds to the 23-24 budget year. So again, that's great news. And as I shared with you earlier, we wanted to again highlight that we had over $1.5 billion in applications for 418 requests. Again, this is great news. Obviously shows it and demonstrates a need for the program. And to this extent, any districts that do receive this apportionment today, just reminders that in order for the district to act on that apportionment, we need to have the fund release requests. And again, they have, if they're not seeking advanced design funds, then they need to come in within 180 days of the apportionment. And those folks who are seeking an advanced design release, they have 12 months to perfect. So again, we'll be sending reminders for those districts that are in that tranche, in that bucket. And again, just reminder that there's final expenditure reports that are due after the project is completed. And there's also a final savings report that's also due within the program. So at this time, we're asking the board to grant the attachment B and take action on those 11 projects for over $33 million. And again, just to highlight that the apportionment requests, and for those folks who have advanced design release, again, they should adhere to the regulation on 1860.16F. The school district must submit a valid fund release request in order to come through the program, and that must happen within 12 months. So with that, we're seeking the board approval on that.
Great. So hopefully everyone will comply because we're super excited to be issuing these grants. So I don't know, whoever can be the first to make the motion to. It's moved by Senator Leyva.
Childcare.
Yeah, I know. This is really amazing that we're seeing this happen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. Thank you, Senator Laird. And then any public comments? Sorry, I forgot to ask. I know there's a lot of excitement, and I hope many of you will not have to suffer through what is a 2-hour kindergarten day for your children. Oh, man, was that hard. Anyone, any public comments? Okay, well, in the name of parents everywhere, Ms. Jones, will you take the roll?
Yes, Senator Wilk,
Aye.
Senator Leyva,
Aye.
Senator Laird,
Senator Laird, we didn't hear you.
Aye.
Oh, thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Assemblymember O'Donnell, Assemblymember Mays,
Aye.
Assemblymember Bonta,
I and Lego say aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Jeremy Smith,
Aye.
Ana Lasso.
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye.
Did you happen to hear Assemblymember O'Donnell vote?
I didn't, but let's
O'Donnell-
ask him.
O'Donnell's an aye.
Great,
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
O'Donnell. Yay, that
Yay.
is approved and really, really excited to see this coming to fruition. I know Senator Leva, it was years of struggle. Okay, so now in keeping with childcare and making sure that we have facilities, we're going to Ms. Kampminer to talk about the preschool and transitional K and full day kindergarten facilities grant program amendments.
Yeah, thank you. So we have on page 163 an item for the board's consideration to amend the regulations for this program. As Lisa mentioned, we did get some additional funding for the California Preschool, Transitional Kindergarten, and Full Day Kindergarten Facilities Grant Program with the passage of AB 181. Along with that bill, there were a few changes. Actually, one change of note, and that is that now the community colleges are eligible to participate in the preschool portion of this program. So the bulk of the regulation changes includes references to add the community colleges into the eligibility for the program and allow them to participate in our next filing round. We also took the opportunity to do a little technical cleanup in the regulations, including just general cleanup and then also specifying some square footage amounts that have become a question that have been with the program since the inception, but had become a question for stakeholders. So we thought we'd put it in the regulations to make it a little more clear. And then also we wanted to add in reference to the additional dollars that were made available for the program. So that is now included in there, talking about the particular filing rounds and the dates associated with the dollars provided and things of that nature. So that is the regulation package that we've got included there. And it does include both the regulation text themselves, along with the funding application and the expenditure report on the attachments. So we are in part asking the board to approve this regulation package for us to file it on an emergency basis and then to make it permanent. Along with that extra $100 million we got, however, we do have an additional request for the board as part of this item, and that is related to the filing dates for the fourth filing round, which is scheduled in 2023. Back at the January 2022 meeting, the board had set that fourth filing round to begin in April of 2023. With that extra $100 million, we could use a little extra time to process those applications and still keep them on track for a fall 2023 apportionment item to the board. So we are asking that the board change the dates of that fourth round to February 1st, 2023 through March 2nd, 2023. And that round will now be $350 million, little over $350 million, as opposed to the original $252 million. So we're very excited that we'll be able to offer some additional awards with that filing round. So with that, we are seeking the board's approval for the staff recommendations as outlined on page 166 of this item.
So moved.
Thank you very much. Any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a second?
O'Donnell seconds.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. May we take the roll, please, Ms. Jones?
Yes. Senator Wilk,
Aye.
Senator Leva,
Aye.
Senator Laird,
Aye.
Assemblymember O'Donnell, Assemblymember
Aye.
Mays,
Aye.
Assemblymember Bonta,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Jeremy Smith,
Aye.
Ana Lasso,
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye, the amendments are adopted. Thank you very much, everyone. Next, again to Ms. Kampminer for the emergency regulations to allocate money from non-bond sources. Ms. Kampminer.
Yes, thank you. So page 193 of the agenda, we do have another regulation package for the board's consideration. Another topic where this is a fun challenge to tackle because we have the general fund dollars. So as part of the 22-23 Budget Act, we have another $1.3 billion for the school facility program with additional amounts identified in future budget years. So we have access to general fund dollars, which is, as you all know, not the typical method for funding projects in this program. We had the $250 million last year, which was a great surprise, and now we've got the $1.3 billion. What that does, however, is it provides us with an opportunity to look at the way that we are bringing approvals for the board's consideration and making apportionments to school districts, because as you know, for the past 13 years, we've been operating under a version of the priority funding model, where school districts that have new construction and modernization projects come forward with their application. We process it and confirm it meets requirements, and then we present it to the board in the consent calendar for an unfunded approval. School districts then have 2 opportunities each year to certify to a fund release request. Basically, they say, if you were to offer me cash and provide an apportionment for this project, I would be able to access that cash within 90 days. I'd submit my fund release request, which also entails being under contract for 50% of the work in the project. And then we get those certifications. We use those to inform others at the state treasurer's office, Department of Finance, what our need is for the next bond sale. So then the bonds are sold twice a year, and we come back with those same projects and have an apportionment allocated once we have the cash to back up the apportionment. Well, now with the general fund proceeds, we have access to the cash. So we do not need to wait for bond sales to use this general fund money. So there's no need for the multiple step process to make apportionments. And this is actually how it used to work back before the fiscal crisis in 2008. We would take items to the board once for an apportionment. The board had different ways of accessing cash back then. We actually borrowed it from the pooled money investment account. And then when bonds were sold, it replenished that account. That mechanism hasn't been available to us since the fiscal crisis, though. So we've actually been doing priority funding for longer than we've had access to the cash through the other mechanism. But districts didn't have to do the certification. They just got their apportionment, and then they could ask for their cash when ready. At that time, however, districts had 18 months to access their cash. And so one of the things when the board shifted to the priority funding model, cash was scarce. Cash was in demand from many programs, not just our program, but all sorts of programs. Cash is still in demand. So we wanted to honor the board's decisions to ensure that when we are making apportionments backed by cash, that there is still a timeliness for the fund releases to come in from school districts. So we are presenting these regulations, an amendment to the regulations that we used to use, but instead of allowing for 18 months for a district to come in for a release of funds after they receive an apportionment, we're proposing 6 months for the districts that provide their matching share, so the non-financial hardship districts. And we're proposing 12 months from the date of apportionment for those districts that qualify for financial hardship, because for some financial hardship districts, they are reliant upon the apportionment from the state before they can really get into the contracting process and commit to those funds. So we feel that it would be fair to offer them some additional time on the fund release request. So that's what you see in the regulation packages, a shift to that. We did take this before stakeholders, like Lisa mentioned in her executive officer statement. We took this back in August and didn't get a ton of comments, but we did get some feedback after that because we had been pursuing a slightly different version of this approach, which leads me to the second piece of this. We had originally been proposing to finish out the bond proceeds first under the existing priority funding model and then shift over to direct apportionments for general fund. But that had the potential to take projects slightly out of order. So projects that received their unfunded approval today or in the past few months would potentially not be receiving cash until the spring bond sale. Whereas if the regulations went into effect for the general fund dollars, those projects could start getting cash right away in November, January, February, et cetera. So that was a concern to stakeholders. So we've reworked our thought process on that, and what we are recommending instead, and we've checked in with the state treasurer's office and Department of Finance to ensure that this is not going to impact the bond sales that would be available to us next year. But we're recommending that the board use the regulations that were put in place last year for the $250 million to waive that certification period where the districts ask for the cash during a 30 calendar day period. In this case, it would be the certification period between November and December of this year, to waive that. So that will allow the districts to ask for the cash now, and then we can use the general fund dollars and provide apportionments using the general fund in October and our November, December meeting of this year, rather than waiting until the spring bond sale for those projects. And if districts did not want to participate with the earlier availability of cash, if they'd already received their unfunded approval, that's fine. We'll just wait until the spring bond sale occurs and take care of it then. So that will keep the projects in line. We'll use that general fund cash in the next couple months. And then if the board approves the regulation package, we expect the direct apportionment regulations to be in effect so that we can start taking those new apportionments straight through that direct apportionment model towards the end of this year, November, December. When we get the spring bond sale proceeds, OPSC will handle that in the background. Districts won't need to care whether they're getting bond sale proceeds or general fund dollars. We'll just keep moving forward with the apportionments. So we are recommending that the board do exercise its option to waive that filing period. Either way, whether the regulations are approved or not, because we do have that cash that we can use right now to get the cash out the door to the school districts. Our understanding with the change and making sure that everybody is getting their cash in the order in which they are processed is that it does address the concern from stakeholders. So we are proposing this regulation package for your consideration, as well as our fourth recommendation, which would be to waive that 30 calendar day filing provision. If the board does approve the regulation amendments as shown on attachments B1 and B2, we would file on an emergency basis, and we're requesting that the board authorize these to also be made permanent and direct us to begin making apportionments at the earliest available meeting once the regulations have been approved by OAL and we will be using those general fund dollars right now. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Congratulations again on this budget action that you all took last year. And these proceeds we anticipate will get us through 2024, at which time we hope there will be another bond. So any public comment, any questions? Thank you for all the work on making sure that this is seamless for the districts, to the OPSE staff, and a huge thank you to the education unit at finance for working through a lot of these logistics. Anyone wishing to comment for any reason? Seeing none, may we have a motion for approval of both the, it's up to the committee, but either I would recommend a motion for approval of the emergency regulations and approval of the process as lined out by Ms. Kampminer.
O'Donnell moved.
Great, moved by Mr. O'Donnell, seconded by Senator Leyva. May we have a roll, please, Ms. Jones?
Yes, Senator Wilk,
Aye.
Senator Leyva,
Aye.
Senator Laird,
Aye.
Assemblymember O'Donnell,
Aye.
Assemblymember Mays,
Aye.
Assemblymember Bonta,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Jeremy Smith,
Aye.
Ana Lasso,
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye. So the regulations to allocate money from non-bond sources are approved. And with that, Ms. Silverman, the 90-day workload?
Yeah, we have the workload report that's part of the agenda. I'm not sure if we have any questions related to that.
Any questions? Any public comment? Seeing none, we are now, Mr. Watanabe bumped up the closed session link. We're going to meet in closed session upon conclusion of our meeting, which is now under Government Code Section 11126E for the purpose of conferring with and receiving advice from legal counsel to provide the board an update regarding active litigation and to discuss whether there is significant exposure to litigation against the board. And upon conclusion, I will report out from this meeting if necessary. So I will come back to this meeting. Before we adjourn into public session, or to closed session, excuse me, is there anyone that wants to make any final public comment for anything not on the agenda? Seeing none, I anticipate we'll be back on this open Zoom link in about 10 minutes. So if you're on it and would like to stay on it, please feel free, and the board will go to a closed link and we'll be right back. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day. Government Code Section 11126E for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel on litigation, and in compliance with the court's order in the San Bernardino City Unified School District case, the board sets aside its decision from the June 26, 2019 meeting denying the district's appeal to retain excess hardship funding for the middle college project. The board now grants the appeal, and the district will be entitled to retain the savings of hardship funding for that project. This action relates only to financial hardship savings, and the board is acknowledging that there is a disagreement on the amount of site relocation funds. Savings do not include site relocation costs. OPSC will move forward with completing the audit and accounting for that project, which will include the district's retention of the hardship savings. Staff will additionally be directed to come back to the October SAB meeting to address implications for districts that have paid hardship savings. In addition, staff will be directed to address the hardship savings regulation. So there is, with seeing no public comment. Seeing none, Mr. Watanabe. Great, thank you everyone, really appreciate it. The next meeting of the State Allocation Board is October 26th on Zoom, and we appreciate everyone's time, and especially OPSC's work, and especially OPSC Legal and the Attorney General Legal. Thank you everyone, really appreciate your time this afternoon. Take care and have a great evening. Bye.
Bye. You too.